Good morning, family and friends. We're still right here in Luke 15:11 through 32. This morning, we're going to take a look at beginning at verse 17. But when he came to himself, he said, "How many of my father's house servants have bread enough to spare, and I perish with hunger?" The key here is that when he came to his senses. What that tells us is that this young man had reached a state of mental instability, had reached a state where he had lost his mind, if you would. Now, don't be so hard on him because I know where he was. I've been there. Have you been there? Have you been so far away from God? Have you been so disconnected from your Father that you feel like you have lost your mind? You don't know where you are. You don't know how you got there. And you certainly don't know how to get back to your Father's house. This young man found himself steeped in swine dung, find himself in circumstances that he never thought he'd be in, and his mind is not right. But the Bible says that when he came to himself, when he realized what was at his father's house, when he realized even the lowest of the low at his father's house had things to spare. Isn't that something? You ever reach that point where you come to your senses and you realize that I just got to get back to my father's house? And the Bible says he arose and determined that he was going to go back to his father's house. Now, if I could use my hermeneutic imagination just for a minute, he probably looked at his situation, looked at his clothes covered in swine dung and said, I can't go like this. I can't go until I fix myself up. But how in the world am I going to fix myself up? I'm broke. I don't know anybody, and I am nowhere near my father's house. But he reaches a point where he says, I'm going to go back to my father's house just as I am, broken, battered, without a friend, smelling of the dung heap that I found myself in. I can't clean it up, but I know if I can just get to my father's house, there I'll find a hot bath. And I'm not even trying to get back to the position I was in before. Lord, if I'd rather be a doorkeeper in the house of my God than dwell in the tents of wickedness, if I can just get in the door. But I've got to get back to my father's house. Many of us are still wallowing in our dung heap, in the swine, in the pig pen, because we have too much pride to go back to our father. But let me tell you, there's no distance too far. There is nothing too harsh. There is nothing so bad. There is no smell too strong. There is no life to live too hard that you can't go back to your father's house. Recognize that in my father's house, what did Jesus say? I go to prepare a place for you. So what I'm trying to tell you is we can always go back to our Father's house. We are not so far removed. That faraway country is not as far as you think it is. Jesus says, behold, I stand at the door and I knock. And now this young man comes to his senses and he starts moving back to his father's house, stinking of where he's been, dirty from where he's been, ragged from what he's been through, blessings gone. And now he's going back to his father. No doubt his steps are short because he's rehearsing in his mind what is he going to say to his father. And as he gets close to home, the Bible says that when he was still a far way off, his father saw him, which tells me that no matter how far we are away, our Father's looking down the road for us just to come home. And this father, no doubt, had been looking down that road every day. And no matter how much filth this young man had on him, no matter how raggedy he was, no matter how wretched he was, his father recognized him from afar off. And it says, not that the young man ran to his father, but his father ran to him, embraced him, and kissed him. In other words, welcome on. The father didn't say, oh, I can't touch you till you clean yourself up. Watch out. I can't hug you till you clean yourself up. The father didn't start questioning him about what happened to the inheritance you demanded. What happened to what I blessed you with? No. His father put his arms around him with compassion and fell on his neck and kissed him. And the son said, Father, I'm not worthy even to be a servant in your household. But the father now says, what you did, you left on the road on your way here. I'm going to restore you from where you was. Tell the servants to go get a clean robe. This is important here. I'm going to restore you even before you get cleaned up. Did you catch that? Told the servants to go get a clean robe before he told the boy to go take a bath. Stop trying to clean up before we go back to our Father. He will restore us before he cleans us up, and then he will make arrangements for us to be cleaned up. We can always go back to our Father's house. Let's go back. You're not too far away. I'm not too far away. God bless you and God keep you.